A very good morning to all of you. Welcome to yet another Zoom call organized by Jungle Bells. Jungle Bells is an exclusive women's wildlife group. We are into wildlife related activities, conservation, and wildlife tours. Before we begin, I would like to request all of you to turn your cameras off and switch off your microphones. Thank you. If you have any questions for the guest speaker, please type in the chat box and we will address them after her talk. Also, if you want to receive further communication from us about our events, please type in your email addresses and phone numbers in the chat box. So regarding today's speaker, Aarti will take it on from here. She'll introduce her. Aarti, you're on mute. Yes.
A very good morning to all of you. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome Neha on the Jungle Bells Forum. And I can say that it has been a challenge for me to prepare a short introduction for her that is worthy of her many achievements. Neha holds a master's degree in medical science from the University of Sheffield in the UK. But it is appropriate to say that her true love has been causes related to nature and animal conservation. Her headline achievement has been the formation of the ResQ Charitable Trust in 2007 with an aim to minimize human animal conflict and to provide relief to animals in distress. ResQ has expanded over the years into multiple wildlife emergency response units with trained rescue personnel, veterinarians, and 4 ambulances working in central Maharashtra, as well as a large wildlife treatment transit center in Bavdan that operates 24 by 7 and is equipped to handle 150 animals, including mammals, birds, and reptiles at any given time. She's also very passionate about raising awareness and education surrounding human animal conflict and has conducted many talks, workshops, and training programs with diverse organizations such as schools, social organizations, and housing societies, municipal bodies, state government arms, including the police and the forest department, on topics related to successfully managing human animal conflict. Her partnership and assistance to the Forest Department is noteworthy, and she has served as a trainer, committee member, and advisor on human animal conflict and the effective rehabilitation of wounded and rescued animals. Her passion and zeal for her causes shine through in all her activities. And I will now hand it over to Neha to tell us a little bit more about her work. Over to you, Neha.
Hi, thank you, Aarti and Himangi, for having me here. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. I've made a little presentation, so I'll just share my screen now.
Sure.
So once again, thank you for having me here on your wonderful platform. I look forward to sharing with you all the work that we do at ResQ. So to begin with, everyone, rescue has been around since 2007, and a lot of people wonder, do you all rescue domestics or do you all rescue wildlife? So one of the things I would like to say is that we are one organization that, where it is species no bar for us. An animal is an animal. And while we get into the presentation, I will share, what our forte is and what exactly we do and with what kinds of animals, because each one of them have different outcomes. So to begin with, the organization was started in 2007, and our main aim was to minimize human-animal conflict and to provide relief for animals who are in distress for whatever reason, and generally when it is due to human intervention. So we are a registered trust. So this is our team. We are a almost 50 member team now, as in they're full-time working for animal rescue for the organization. And of course, there are, our vision is a world where humans and animals coexist in sustainable ecosystems. And the idea is to build awareness and implement effective systems which protect animals and their environment. So if you look at from 2007, we started really small. I'm very glad we did because the growth has been very, very gradual. Learned a lot along the way. There were no standards for rescue. We're still establishing them over time, and keep sharing them with others as well. So, you grow through what you go through, and that's sort of been our journey. So when it started in 2007, and I just moved to Pune, at that point, moving from Mumbai to Pune, it was more of the urban environment. And Pune itself has changed so much in the last decade. And so initially it was domestic animals, literally. It started with dogs and cats. And then about in 2014, the first wild animal that actually came to us was an elephant. Anyway, so this is the way the organization has grown. The spike you see in the middle is because of some project that we took on related to rabies, which affects not only other domestic animals but wild animals as well. And so we've been doing a lot of work related to that. So we ran some mass vaccination programs, which is why there's a spike. And then of course in COVID, as you can see, as in 2017 and 2020, so basically, I mean, as an organization, our capacity is to do between 8 to 10,000 rescues a year, and that's what we generally do. That's the direct number of animal lives we touch, besides the indirect through the other verticals of the work that we do. And in 2021, this year, up till the start of June, it was already about, close to 5,000 animals. And the way it is going, it's just increasing. So I think it's going to be about the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share a little video with you all about the work we did in 2020. So you just get an idea of, what it was like for us in the COVID times. And I'll tell you more about how we're working this year.
Hi, Bobby. What is wrong with people, man? Trying to help you.
All right. So, oops.
That was amazing, Neha.
Thank you. So the work we do at ResQ, we divide ourselves into two factions. If you go to see, one is rescue wildlife and one is rescue street animals. If you have to look at this, and I'll describe the work we do in both divisions, but these are mainly our verticals. We have the wildlife division, the street animals. We call it DART, which is Distressed Animal Rescue Team, and this team basically works for animals in disasters. So whether it's the floods, whether it's cyclones, or so those are natural disasters, and then you have the man-made ones as well, which I'll share a little more about a little later. We do education and outreach programs, training and workshops for governmental, non-governmental organizations, and there are certain research projects that we are involved in simply because we work so much at the grassroots level. So this is actually our rescue center, which is in Baudhan. As you can clearly see, it's a 2-acre center. One half of it is dedicated for the street animal work, and the other half is the wildlife unit. So they're divided into 2 sections entirely, and everything is kept separate, including the handlers, the kitchens, every single thing. So they function as completely 2 different units. So a little more about the wildlife work that we do. So you could say that we could divide it into 6 sections. So the first would be wildlife veterinary medicine surgery. So we run a proper wildlife veterinary hospital, and we have vets who are dedicated to wildlife, and they have different expertise in different things. Some of them are great with surgery, some are great with reptiles, some are great with birds, some are extremely good with mammals. So we have 7 vets at ResQ in total. And we have a full-fledged wildlife veterinary hospital and the domestic one on the domestic side. The other thing that we do is rehabilitation of abandoned orphans. Now, this is something that has been increasingly occurring over the years, and this is mainly because of the shifts in agricultural patterns that we have seen in our in and around Pune district. And this, I mean, many animals come to us, especially wildlife. So actually the street animal work is more centered around Pune. It's just the urban city of Pune. But the wildlife work we do takes us everywhere all over Maharashtra. Abandoned orphans come to us from different places. Sometimes it's a rusty spotted cat, sometimes they're jackals, sometimes it's a hyena pup, sometimes it's loads of birds. So deer. So these mainly come when, during harvesting time, or if there has been a natural disaster or a major change in climate, and, or nests are destroyed for any other reason. So abandoned orphan comes to us for different reasons. And for us, the goal is to not send them into permanent captivity, which are zoos, which are already overburdened and have a lack of resources, especially in Maharashtra. So the goal is to, rehabilitate them. They go through a very planned, very rigorous rehabilitation program, after which they do get soft released, especially the orphans, and then we monitor them after that. So the idea is to give them a second shot at life instead of permanent captivity. The third is there's a lot of wildlife that comes to us from trafficking and illegal captivity, mainly as pets. So the illegal pet trade or, basic trafficking. So there are these animals come to us either from the forest department or sometimes, through our networks of volunteers, we get information which we then pass on to the forest department. So a lot of the work goes hand in hand. Forest department is one, and then the district SPCA as well when it comes to trade, when it comes to, when it's related to pet shops. So a lot of animals come to us through trafficking. Their lifetime outcomes are based on where they've come from, what species they are, whether they're indigenous or not. So there are a lot of variables that have to be considered when it comes to trafficked wildlife. So if it is exotic species, of course, the plan is different. Like, for example, the crocodile you see me holding in my hand. Parakeets, there have been several that were caught in the wild, and it's very easy to tell which ones are and which ones aren't. And so we put them through a rehabilitation program, sort of integrate them with the ones, and make sure that they will be able to thrive, and then soft release them. So yeah, a lot of animals come to us from trafficking, tortoises, monkeys, mainly monkeys, parakeets, turtles, tortoises, and sometimes the odd iguanas. We had this year, we got a lot of 1,200 iguanas that were being trafficked. So yeah, and 300 African sulcata tortoises. So sometimes they come in very, very large numbers as well. The third vertical, the fourth vertical is technical animal rescue. Now, this you'll see on the domestic side as well as the wildlife side. So when it comes to technical rescue, this is either aerial rescue situations, underground or in water situations. We have a team which has professional rock climbers, mountaineers who are now full-time working at rescue. And it's very common to see, especially on social media, a lot of stunts being done to get animals out of wells or from trees, and they're quite dangerous actually. So the idea when we put together the DART team, the distressed animal rescue team, was that yes, animal rescue from distress situations is important, but safety for human and animal is extremely critical. Just getting the animal out of the well is not the goal. Making sure it comes out safely, because half the damage generally would happen during the rescue. So we have, over the years, our wonderful donors have, given us, really good equipment where now the team is, equipped to conduct proper technical rescue. So as you can see, there's deer that falls down wells, there's leopards, jungle cats. Also in the city, very commonly you see birds stuck in manja on very, very high trees. So the old traditional methods would generally cause a lot of distress to the animal while it's rescued. So it's already stuck in the situation, whether it's where it's stuck in manja, maybe on a high tension wire or in a tree. And the goal is to get it out of that situation, but if not done properly, more damage is generally caused to the wings. And so we have developed techniques and got good equipment now, which our success rates when it comes to releasing birds stuck in manja has greatly increased, and it's very short recuperation time. So yeah, that's basically technical animal rescue. In the city, you generally see it's just birds and manja, but outside the city, in the rural areas or peri-urban areas, there are open wells where a lot of wild animals fall in. So that's technical animal rescue. Human wildlife conflict mitigation. Again, this is something that is really increased, and unfortunately, I do see it increasing over the years as well. Around Pune, our peri-urban areas, our rural areas, the cash crop has changed to sugarcane, and this has become the ideal habitat for leopards. Not just so, leopards require two things: food and shelter. So the stray dog population has greatly gone up even in rural areas, and which is problematic, not just from the leopard perspective, but from other perspective when it comes to wildlife as well. But yeah, the leopard conflict is greatly increasing. We have leopards all around us in Pune, very, very close to the city. So these kind of situations require, working together with the local community, with the department. So it's a combined effort between the department and local community and us. And now we in fact trying to set up primary response teams in known conflict areas where we know that the leopard population is thriving, but these leopards are not like your forest leopards. So I will be sharing more and more information about this topic. And in fact, we are conducting a very interesting project related to this so that we can gather more information so that conflict can be managed better in the coming years. I'll share that shortly with you all. So yeah, human wildlife conflict mitigation, this is a major thing. Also snake related, we do a lot of snake awareness related programs. That's mainly to tell people about snake bite protocol, educating them about the venomous, non-venomous snakes, that kind of thing. Also, like as you can see in this next slide, this is a situation where harvesting was done, and sometimes you find, kittens, either they're leopard kittens or they're cubs or they're rusty spotted kittens. So the first attempt is to always reunite them with the mother. So this is one of those situations. On the right-hand side, you can see The GAR situation that we had in Pune, the first one, went grossly wrong for many reasons, but the second one was beautifully managed because of proper training. Um, the sixth vertical, of course, I mean, it's basically the TTC that we run, the Treatment Transit Center. At any given time, we have between 100 and 150 and, wild animals under rehabilitation at the TTC, all of different kinds, and all come from different situations. Sometimes some trafficking, sometimes they're orphans, many hurt and injured, that kind of scenario. So we have our vets, we have rehabilitators, we have animal caretakers who basically are working with these animals. And in fact, it's quite the opposite on the domestic and the wildlife side, because on the domestic side, of course, there is more interaction with the animals, but on the wildlife side, it's about keeping the wild animals wild. So our interaction with them is actually really minimal. It's literally only when it is required for treatment. And whereas rehabilitation is concerned, with many of the orphans, it kind of reaches a point where they're not even seeing a human anymore, or they're actually scared of us. Yeah, this is, these are some animals that have come from trafficking situations or road accidents. A lot of birds come to us from Big One and those areas when there are huge, when there is a lot of, there's a climate change, or a lot of tree felling incidents that happen over there, a lot of nestlings, fledglings. Fledglings generally don't come to us, but the nestlings come to us at times, or if there has been any kind of poisoning or anything like that. So this is actually a baby pangolin that came to us. It was being trafficked. The mother passed away during, when the department discovered the animals. It was really, really sad. But the baby came to us. A lot of turtles and tortoises get trafficked. So these are the kinds of animals that come to us. Actually, the monkeys that you're seeing in this picture, they don't even belong to the same troop. They were integrated into the wildlife nursery.
Uh,
Am I audible?
yeah, I
Aarti?
think we lost you in between.
Yes, just 1 minute. I'll just share my screen again.
Yeah.
Is it visible now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great.
Probably a network issue.
Yes, just 1 minute. Yeah. So this is basically so this is a jackal that came to us. These are a lot of orphans that were raised, which came to us in the conditions. The bird you see on the top right is, came to us in the nestling stage, and then they get. So now it's a fledgling, and then they move from different enclosures, from the wildlife nursery into observation units, into ex situ rehabilitation units, and then eventually for a soft release. So now moving on to the street animal side, we run mainly three things. One is the free community clinic, and this is mainly for unknown animals, all the way from 2007, and that has been a policy at ResQ ever since we started. Any animal that gets reported to our helplines, and it's been kept this way so that it encourages people to report hurt and injured animals. So if any unknown animal, is brought to the clinic, it is treated completely free of cost. The other program that we run is the Sajivan program, and that is basically a community-based animal birth control program. And this is mainly to reduce the conflict that exists on Pune streets related to, street dogs and, societies, residentials that live around them, because the street dog number has really, really increased over the years. So this program is based around reducing those problems. And the third, of course, is technical animal rescue. So this is some of the work that is done on the street animal side. Um, and then, of course, there's the DART unit, which is mainly the on-site rescue team. And they respond to technical animal rescues and to rescues during any kind of disaster, floods, cyclones. I remember we went for the Kerala floods, Sangli floods. This year, the team went to Mahad as well. And of course, the cyclones that have happened in the middle, a lot of animals come during that time. So to even safely retrieve those animals, this was a recent incident, a tree felling incident that happened not very far from Pune. And actually, this was not a felling incident. One of the picture in the center was a felling incident, but the others, sometimes you have a large tree that just falls, and if it is an area, and there were a lot of birds breeding on the tree, so getting them out, providing aid, and then making sure that they get rehabilitated and go back. During COVID, of course, there was a whole lot of relief work that we did. There were people, animals stranded in different places. We did tie up with other organizations like the Grasslands Trust, with other organizations that were sending food out for, relief material out for human beings as well. So since our ambulances were moving, we clubbed it all up and sent relief for the people as well as their animals, especially a lot of these communities, nomadic communities like, say, the Dhangars, which were in and around Pune's grasslands. Besides that, we also conduct trainings and workshops, so they could be governmental or non-governmental. So the reason we conduct the governmental workshops, so basically they're for either the law enforcement or the detection agencies. So what this does is it helps us streamline our work together, because we are working on field together. They're doing their bit and we do our bit, but it's really important for us to conduct these trainings and workshops, because then we are on the same page when the situation actually happens. Then the other, also we do end up, training a lot of non-governmental organizations as well in other different locations. And this is mainly because we do realize that we can't be everywhere. And if the goal is to help animals, then, and like I said, there are no standards which are, laid down for rescue and those kind of things. So the idea is to, share whatever we've learned and, help each other in terms of resources. Or, so for example, we have a team in Down that is trained, and what they do is they do all the first aid when it comes to those areas, big one, down, all those areas. And so they manage maximum of the cases themselves now. First, all those cases used to come to Pune. Now they can do a lot on their own. But when they do require our help, they do reach out if they need to admit an animal in the TTC. So this really fosters, really good, teamwork. And it's helps reduce the use of already limited resources. And so there are teams that we've trained in several different places: Nashik, Amravati, Lonavala. And yeah, this is the kind of training. So sometimes it's hands-on, sometimes it's more informational, so that when you are in the situation, at least everyone is on the same page and everyone knows what their role is. Education and outreach, I mean, I guess, talks like this also are a part of that. And the idea is to spread the word about the work we do, and yes, about the work we do, but, it's also makes people more aware about what they're doing, and that eventually helps protect more animals and mainly their habitat. So sometimes it could be, a snake bite awareness program, or it could be with children, educating them about wildlife, about what to do, what not to do. Also, workshops like you can see down where, we conducted a workshop with WTI and I4, where It was about how to respond in a disaster so that we are well networked all over and multiple resources aren't getting wasted. So yes, some research and projects. So we did work on a rabies related project. We tie up with different organizations to do that since so many animals were coming to us anyway, and rabies is very much a problem. So we've been working since 2017 with ATRI on a project related to rabies to understand the disease transfer, to understand its prevalence in our populations, in animals. Is it spreading to wildlife? What are the levels in Pune city? And a lot of this has never been done before. The other one is the Triadic, and this is a collaboration with the Grasslands Trust, which is an organization based in Pune. And we have Spanish partners as well who are working on this project with us. They're different doctors. And so the idea of this basic project is to it's a very grassroots level project where we are studying human-animal conflict, how large carnivores are existing outside protected forest areas. Because a lot of work, a lot of study is done in protected forest areas, but there's very little information about these animals, their interaction with humans, how are they thriving, what are they thriving on. Leopards in our in non-protected areas, in human-dominated landscapes are very different from forest leopards. So, but none of this has been properly documented and worked on. What are they eating? How are they interact? How do they react to human beings? What makes them problem leopards? Are they problem leopards? You know, what are the potential solutions? So there's a lot of work we are doing related to this. Besides the work that ResQ does, in my own personal capacity, of course, I do engage with different governmental bodies and committees, whether it's the Pune District SPCA or the Human Wildlife Conflict Management Committee and the Maharashtra Forest Department, and we work on several different things. Especially, rescue rehabilitation. There are no set standards for it. So, bringing that into the system, making everyone, making sure that this also gets accounted for in the future. I just wanted to share a recent project that we are working on, which is the reptile transit unit. And this is because we realized the need for this because there were so many animals getting trafficked all the time. We have a continuous inflow of turtles and tortoises and several different reptiles coming in from the trade. Actually, in Pune, it is quite sorted because we have very minimal entities where these animals get deposited. But in several other parts of the state, what happens is the department used to end up seizing them and then giving temporary custody to volunteers who are amazing, where they do it out of their love for animals. But just seizing the animal and getting it out of a trafficker's hand is not the best potential outcome for the animal. It has to see its final, whether it's release or repatriation or proper lifetime care. Like it cannot be in temporary custody for the rest of its life. So basically, and by chance, if these animals were not handled properly after seize, they become either biodiversity hazards like red-eared sliders have become, or, they would just end up in the trade one way or the other. So basically, to complete the loop on this, stopping the trafficking is one thing, but what happens with those animals eventually? That is why this reptile transit unit has been set up recently. So this is a very, very recent project. And there wasn't one dedicated facility or two dedicated facilities which were intaking these animals, where there were experts who knew how to handle these different species of turtles and tortoises that are coming. And so we decided to set up the RTU, as we call it, in Pune at our place. And basically, this is a joint project between the Maharashtra Forest Department and ResQ. And the Forest Department's role is basically to help us move the animals, in the sense to provide permissions and all for their transfers, for their releases and all of that. And we would be, essentially, ResQ would be taking care of these animals, checking them, stabilizing them, evaluating their fitness for release, those kind of things at the RTU. So the housing, the medical facilities, because sometimes they come from really bad conditions. So basically, the 4 steps that we have is the data collection, then the animals are brought to the RTU, and then they go through their medicals, their rehabilitation. So for example, a tortoise in somebody's house or in captivity would be being fed certain things. But if they have to go back into the wild, actually, I forgot to insert a picture, which I just received 2 days ago. We had released a batch of tortoises it at a location in Maharashtra, and the people who are monitoring them there recently sent us pictures of those same tortoises breeding and thriving over there, and that was wonderful. And that's in fact encouraged me even more to do this now, because we know that okay, it's not that we're collecting them and we're releasing them back out and then there is no follow up. There are people who are following up on them. Suddenly they're seeing baby tortoises, and it's really wonderful. It was very, very heartwarming for me to see that, because they actually went back there and they are breeding and they are thriving over there. So a part of getting them ready in rehabilitation is to even make sure that they're eating the kind of grass, eating the kind of vegetation that they would get over there where they get released. So that's all a part of the rehabilitation plan. And then, of course, planning the repatriation or release. Recently, we sent to the northeast, to Assam, to Guwahati, almost 60 odd turtles. They were airlifted from Pune. Because they don't have a distribution in Maharashtra. So whether they have to go out of state or whether they have to be released in state, all this needs to be done. It needs to be seen through. So that's going to be, a part that the RTU does as well. And then, of course, reporting and documentation for the Forest Department. So yeah, this is this is the current project. All of this is complete, and so we did a data collection of how many tortoises were present in the state, and circulated with the entire Forest Department turtle identification guides. We made an online form which they quickly uploaded from their mobile. You can see the image here. So they literally just had to upload it from them. We tried to make it as easy for them to report the information to the RTU about where all these tortoises are in temporary custody, and they were given guides to identify. And then so it's I'm just sharing this with you all, that there are about 141 tortoises that we are expecting to come into the RTU within the next week. And so yeah, that's our recent project. I'm almost at the end of my presentation. I'm just going to share another little video. This is a video from last month. Of course, I've shared a lot of images with you all about the work we do, but this is just what 1 week sort of looks like at ResQ. And I'll then end my presentation with how you can get involved and how you can help. Right. So that's some of the work that we did like in 1 week. And I'll just end my presentation with generally people ask us, how they can help. One is definitely by, sharing the work that we do. We do post on social media. So to spread the, work and the awareness, we try to keep our posts informative about, the animals and how people can help. Organize community programs or visits. The best way to protect animals, I feel sometimes, is to educate people about them. And so, yes, that is one way, to organize in your own communities, groups that you know. We are opening up the rescue center now. Finally, we are all vaccinated, double vaccinated. So now we are opening up the center for visits as well. So we do group visits, and of course, we will have some restrictions on the numbers, but that is something that really helps also. Volunteer at the rescue center. Again, we had closed volunteering for the last, since COVID had happened, but we are going to be opening that up soon. Volunteers are of different types. Sometimes they are hands-on, sometimes they don't want to do hands-on work, but they want to help in other ways. So yeah, volunteering. Also in kind or in funds, we have a website. If you want to know more about us, you can go on to our website, which is resqct.org, and you'll get a lot of information there. Also, several people like to gift donations to their friends and families. So they sponsor either one single animal or a unit in, for their family members. So that's we've noticed recently that a lot of people are opting for this option, and I think that's wonderful because to make a gift on someone's behalf and really make a difference to an animal's life. So these are some of the ways, and if you want to read more, you can go on the website. Yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to share for, today. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Neha.
Yeah. So
That
that is
was
something very amazing. I don't know, Aarti. I mean, it's like a completely, we do visit forest, Neha, and we do have, we do wildlife excursions, but this was completely on the other and a different angle to all of it. And it's unless and until you're passionate about all these things, I think it comes from within, I should say. Completely driven
Yeah.
by passion. Yeah. So
The trips look really nice. I was just looking at them on Instagram.
okay.
Really wonderful. But what's interesting is, you when you have wildlife emergencies in protected areas, I believe those don't need to be rescued. It's the ones which are in and around our human-dominated landscapes. Those are the ones because of human intervention.
Right.
What happens in those areas is natural, and in fact, we should not intervene. There
interfere
is
there,
no
yeah.
rescue required.
No, the session was truly eye-opening, Neha, because unintentionally many times humans will end up harming wildlife or animals, like that the incident you just showed about that tree felling. I mean, as simple as that. I mean, PMC is given a job to chop trees because they are causing hindrance in some ways, and they don't even realize that there may be life living in those trees. And so it's really amazing. And I think your work really needs to be um, spread a lot more, in various areas, and we should definitely look at working together. I mean, really, you're doing really great work, and so we have a couple of questions. We've already answered, and our questions were related to how one can help, how one can volunteer at rescue. We had those questions, but Himangi, you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you, Nia, how did you start off with this entire idea of animal rescue? I mean, what made you get into this? I mean, that's what.
So actually, I just moved from Mumbai to Pune, and in Mumbai, whenever I would find, I mean, I think ever since I was really young, um, it's never been for me. It's never been about wanting to touch or play with an animal that is just thriving in its environment. It's not like I'm drawn to that. I've always been drawn to, so if I see something suffering or if it's in pain and something which is caused due to human intervention, I feel like an animal should not have to suffer. So when I came to Pune and I, would find hurt and injured animals, I realized that there was actually no emergency ambulance. There was nobody I could call for help. Nobody who would come there. There were some, and this is, I'm talking on the domestic side, and there were some shelters, there were some organizations doing animal birth control, and that was their forte. Even over time, I realized that everyone has, they pick, generally people have this thing that if you're an animal welfare organization, you have to do everything. You have to do law and advocacy also, you have to do rescue also, you have to do animal birth control also, you have to do everything. So I also realized early that, listen, everyone can't do everything, and this is a lacuna and it needs to be filled. And there was one particular case, of this one dog, and just watching that animal languish itself, mutilate itself to death, literally, and that was what it took. So yeah, I started the NGO with a friend of mine called Tanya, and we started it. I was 23 back then. The first thing my father told me, beggars don't do charity. So I learned that very early. And so I've had to work doubly hard to make sure that the organization also runs. And being a founder, I quit my job, but I started something else, which was, kept my schedule flexible enough to be able to do this work as well as, grow the NGO slowly. And so yeah, I mean, it was basically the need, and rescues evolved over the years. For example, when the slaughter ban happened, that's when a lot of large animals started getting discarded on the streets, and there was a need to rescue them. So I mean, I'm actually not very pro the slaughter ban, because the ban was put and nothing was thought about the aftermath. Then, for example, the way the city, like this rapid urbanization that has happened, the way we are expanding now, 23 more have been added to Pune city. And the way we are expanding, I mean, these were areas where wildlife was thriving, is thriving even now. And the conflict has increased so much. And yes, there is, when they say coexistence, it's both. It's not one at the cost of another. So there has to be a balance. And I think education and awareness, like for example, many people call us because there are owls nesting in their building ducts. Right. So now pest control agencies have started also like reaching out to us and saying, listen, someone's asked us to remove them. Can you take the little ones? Because there is no option but to remove these, because they do smell a lot. And, the animals are like, they're just picking the safest possible place for them. And in that area, they're not going to move their area. Eventually they will adapt. But, so there's a lot of this conflict that exists. And I feel like things have changed around us, and thus we've had to change as well. Also, over the years, what happened is we ourselves helped so many other organizations set up where it came to domestics, that we're like, okay, there are so many others doing this. Animal resources are limited. There are very few people who are working on rescue rehabilitation in wildlife, and which is why we even got into that. And also because the place where our center is located, a lot of people would just come and leave wildlife in boxes outside, and we were like, we didn't know what to do. And that's when we approached the forest department, and then we set up our TTC and said, okay, this is now becoming the need of the hour. There's so much wildlife being reported continuously, and so eventually we set up the TTC a few years back.
Amazing that is.
So you're doing this full time now, yeah? Like this is your...
Yes. I mean, I do consult. I'm a branding and marketing consultant, but that just, it's just online work. So over the years, I always had a plan that, by the time I'm 35, 37, I will reach a place where I can just consult and, give all my time to rescue. So basically, I'm doing full-time rescue, but being the founder, I'm the only person who's not an employee. All the rest are. So, rescue as an organization is... So I say, okay, we are not the only difference between us and a corporate. So we have a lot of systems and protocols and all sorts of things at ResQ. The only difference between us and a corporate is that they're for profit and we are not for profit. And so, yeah, I mean, running ResQ is my full-time unpaid job. But for myself, I mean, I am a consultant. I do consult on branding and marketing for a couple of companies. Yeah.
So how's your work at ResQ funded mostly? Is it all donations and mainly like help from people, or?
Yes, so we get no governmental funding from all the way from 2007. I mean, there have been reasons why I haven't gotten involved with that. But also it's, so it's entirely donor funded, ResQ from day one. So for the last 14 years, all because of the support of people. They see the work we do and support us. So sometimes they're individuals, sometimes they're small groups, they're companies. A few companies, animal welfare. I mean, even when it comes to CSR, animal welfare is still way down people's list. Our country has, a lot of other, also very other important, issues to deal with. So most company CSRs are, around education, women, children, of course, which is also a great need in this country. But so there are a few companies that do give us CSR, but that's probably just about 40% of what we need. The rest is all individuals. Some even are, actually there's some who donate monthly, and it's really heartwarming, because sometimes it's 250 rupees a month to, a lot more a month. So there is nothing like small or big. So we, every little bit matters, and that's what's kept us going all these years. It's the work that people see, and which is why we post about it, because people see us doing work, they see us out on the streets, and yeah, it's just people like you who keep this organization going.
So
I would just, I would just like to mention, I think my daughter on her birthday decided to give everything to the ResQ. She met you, Neha, so Sia had come. So I think she still aspires, every year she decides, no, I'll go and give it to ResQ. She loves that thought of, for her, all her birthday money collected. She wants to do something.
Sweet. I mean, over the years, I've seen such heartwarming stories of children who have come, celebrated their birthdays, or just done something of their own accord and raised funds for rescues, or, and even at times said, I really like this animal, and can you, like, the funds that I've raised, can you help these kind of animals with it? And, and we obviously honor that. And sometimes there are groups, of like 10, 15 people, and they say, okay, you know what, maybe we can't fund the whole unit, as an individual, but as a group, you know what, we'll all monthly contribute 500 rupees and, or X amount of rupees. And then, this 2 units will be taken care of, so sometimes it's a group of people that comes together, and it's really wonderful.
I think it's very important to raise this awareness among children, because, they are the next,
next generation who's very important. Yeah, I always say the ones that have gone, I'm not sure how much I can influence and change them, but then, I always take my time out to do school programs and, talk to children, because they're the future.
Right. So what is the best way to donate? Like, is there an option through your website to donate? Okay.
Yes.
So that's good to know.
It's available on the website.
Okay, great. For the questions, so Sanjay Deshpande of Sanjeevani Developers, who is, he's our mentor, and, he helps us in many ways and supports us. He wants to know whether we can, if we can mention your number to the societies, so that, or he's talking about tying up with Credai, because he's a builder as well. So by virtue of which many society residents will get to know about your activity, and maybe, be able to help.
I think that's a great idea for more than one reason. He's mentioned in the chat box that, through Credai, we can, get people connected to the work. But along with that, I think just, even just putting up, we've done that in many places where we have a little sticker at the watchman's cabin and, things like that, where if they see a hurt or injured animal or wildlife, they can report that to us, or, if a snake enters by mistake or something like that, so those get reported to us. So number one, who to call. The second thing is, of course, I'd love to talk to him, because there are a couple of other things that, through the Credai, it can be done, especially issues that are born on construction sites, and those are actually the starting points for human animal conflict in the future, whether it is street animals, dogs, or whether it is wildlife. So certain small things which can be done at the construction point, which would really, once the residents come to live, it would really, really help them in the future. So those are some things that, can be done very, those would be very productive to do.
Okay. We'll definitely connect. Sanjay, you want to unmute, and he's raised his
Aarti, hi. Neha, it was wonderful to listen to you, and I'm really happy because specifically in urban cities like Pune and Bombay, wildlife, everybody is aware, but the awareness is not in depth or in knowledge, and these kind of things are much more important. What I was speaking about Krida is, you are very right. Many times, right from snakes to many other small species, where conflict start right from JCB enters into the plot. So it can be a, as I say, Jungle Bell can be a bridge to aware CREDI members about the precautions they should take during the construction, as well for the residents, what kind of guidelines can be put, and whenever there is some issue about man-animal conflict during construction or post-occupation of the building. That's what, and I have already introduced Jungle Bell to women's wing of CREDI, and a few of the names you might be knowing also, like Archana Badera and all those girls. So I think we can have one of the session specifically with ResQ and CREDI and Jungle Bell on a giant platform for issues like this.
Yes,
great. That sounds
thanks,
wonderful.
Sanjay.
Thanks.
So we'll be in touch, Neha. Yeah.
Aarti, Shilpa has asked, Shilpa Deshpande, she's asked a question
Facebook,
on
I think.
Facebook. Yeah. So Neha, she's asking, do you think stray dogs are a threat for wildlife, especially in rural areas?
Yes, because there's been enough documented evidence of stray dogs having interactions with wildlife, taking down a lot of wildlife, whether it's birds, whether it's deer. We constantly get cases of deer attacked by street dogs. And this has got to do more with the number of street dogs. I love dogs, but dogs are domesticated animals, and basically they were companion animals. They're meant to be with human beings under the supervision of human beings. The problem is when they've become packs, when their population has gone out of control. There has, disease transfer has been noted, rabies, distemper, taking out, packs of, whether it's wolves or whether it's whether it's ungulates, whether it's, small felines, canids, yes, there is a conflict. I say when you look at the conflict, it's a triangle. So there's human, and then there's wildlife and domestic, and each is a threat to the other. And the idea is to, and when you look at it in different ecosystems, so when you look at it in the urban ecosystem, it's different. When you look at it in the peri-urban or the rural ecosystem, that is different. So it all depends what the balance is, and it's different for different places. So yes, broadly, stray dogs and cats and even domestic cats are known. There's enough research on it to say that they are a threat to wildlife. But it all depends on the environment that they're present in, their numbers, whether they're under supervision or not. I mean, free-ranging stray dog packs, yes, definitely a big threat to wildlife.
I think even in the cities, many people are finding stray dogs, turning into a threat just because of their increasing numbers.
Like 15 years back, it wasn't as big an issue. But now the number of stray dogs has gone up, and grossly gone up. And this is, that's what's causing the problem, right? I mean, they're being dogs. Once they get into that pack mentality, the bike chasing, all the other issues associated with it have increased. And that is definitely a problem. And in fact, at ResQ, because we run a domestic unit and a wildlife unit, obviously so our work is focused on reducing the dogs through very active animal birth control programs. And I know that we probably don't have the resources to clean up the whole city, but which is why we work with communities. So for example, we may adopt a community and say, hey, we will help you reduce the problems on your street over the next 5 years. We will do these X amount of actions. For people who love dogs, who want to feed dogs, here are the set of rules you need to follow so that the conflict can be reduced. For people who don't like animals, here's how you can protect yourself, who are maybe scared. It's not about like or don't like, it comes out of a place of fear. So if you are afraid, these are the things you can do. These are the things that are being done. So the idea is to reduce the problems. There's no like magic wand that can be, but there are certain things that can be done Like in my own locality, we used to, when I moved here, when I got married 13 years back, we had 5 dogs on the streets. Today we have none, you know. And in fact, the people who did not like the dogs back then were like, and very consciously, I decided no new ones that come should be fed. You know, okay, these ones live here. We've neutered them, vaccinated them year on year. Only one, all garbage has to be closed up. That is the most important. Everyone has to be educated for that. So it's not just the people who so-called like animals that need to be involved. Everyone has to play their fair role where they close up their garbage bins and make sure there's no other resources available for these animals to thrive in that sense. In fact, I had somebody ask me like, oh, you know, there are no more dogs now. Should we get another one? And I was like, why? We work so hard to, you know, to make sure there are, because, you know, there are children playing outside on bikes, all of that. So yes, I mean, I do love animals, but I do recognize a problem when there is one, and there has to be a balance between that. Yeah.
So one of our viewers, Sujata Rege, she's said that she's thanked you for your work, and a couple of weeks before, your team rescued an injured eagle from her neighbor's house. So and she says that she follows you and visits your website quite often for updates.
Thank you so much.
And then we have one more listener, Yash Lunkar. I think he did not do a direct message. I think he did a direct message to me instead of to the group. So he also wants to thank you for your service in wildlife conservation, and he says that he's inspired by you and Tuhin sir, and he has been following rescue for around 2 years and has visited the center. He says he had enrolled for your volunteer program, but due to the pandemic, he couldn't join it, and he attends our programs
So
regularly.
like I said, you know, we will be opening up to volunteers soon. It will be very limited on the wildlife side because most of the animals that come to us are in very critical condition.
Right.
And so on the domestic side, the volunteering will definitely open up. In terms of the wildlife side, yeah, with rescue and things like that, volunteers can join the team. The rehabilitation, of course, at the TTC is, we don't open it up to volunteers because there are very limited handlers who interact with the animals. But yes, people, do keep an eye out on our social media handles. We will be talking about volunteering soon.
So he's thanked you for a great session. Yes, thank you again, Neha. It was really, like I said, very eye-opening to hear all the different ways in which animals can be harmed. You never imagine. Even trafficking was something, I don't know. We never really thought that there's a rescue process for the trafficked animals. I mean, it's really heartwarming to know that something like that is being done. So and like Sanjay mentioned, we will definitely be in touch with you to take this ahead with CREDAI maybe.
Okay, sounds great.
So thank you very much, and I would like to thank Sanjay Deshpande also, who's, like I said, always been a great support and mentor to us, as well as Anuj. I would like to mention Anuj on this one, especially because he is the one who recommended we do a session like this with you, Neha. So thanks, Anuj, and yeah, thank you to the viewers for supporting us and watching our programs, webinars. Thank you, Neha.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
Bye.
Bye.